All right, just wanted to give you guys a quick look at this with the trailer hooked up before I disconnect this. But that's the 14-foot 7x14 iron bowl. That thing weighs about 5,000 pounds. It's got almost 1,000 pounds of tongue weight on the truck. And with the new suspension, we are sitting almost perfectly level with the trailer hooked up. And I was about that with that load of firewood I had in there, but that was just over a half cord, so I was able to balance that pretty well over the rear axle on that trailer. All right, guys, here it is. So it's been a couple months in the making now, but I finally got the upgraded suspension done on my 2024 F250. Now, this is an XL model base trim with the 6.8 liter V8 and the 430 axle ratios. I had this truck built specifically for my firewood business. So when I spec'd this out, I wanted to get all the max towing and payload packages I could get. So this truck's pretty bare bones as far as options, but when it comes to payload and towing, because of the 430 axle ratios, you get 16,600 pounds of towing. And then I got the camper and snow plow prep packages, which give you stiffer spring rate and the added overload leaf spring in the rear. Now, what I didn't realize when I built the truck that way is because of that 2-up stiffer spring rate in the front, you get a 1-up spring rate over the factory spring when you get the snowplow prep. And then the camper prep adds another 1-up on top of that. So 2-up total. I don't know exactly how much stiffer it is. They just tell you 1-up and 2-up. And they also don't say how much height you're going to gain because of that. You have less sag on the front end of the truck because of that stiffer spring. So when I took delivery of this truck, I was a little surprised how level the truck was. I mean, it was almost perfectly level. When I measured the rear, I was barely 1 inch higher in the rear than the front, and trying to see that by eye is not easy to do. So, you know, the truck looked really level on nice level ground. I'm pretty close to level here, not perfect, but I'm going to go over the measurements and show you guys exactly what I did to get the rake back in this truck. I really like that old school look that this truck has. You know, with the off-road tires, you know, it's got the squared headlights, so kind of more of that old school traditional look to it. And I also wanted that rake in the back, a lot of it because of towing and payload. You know, I could put 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of weight in firewood in the back of this truck, and you're going to get a little bit of that sag when you do that. So getting this rear back up where I think it should have been from the factory is going to help eliminate that. And as you see, we just got back from picking up a load of firewood. I had just over a half cord in the dump trailer, so not a ton of weight, but that dump trailer is heavy. I mean, that iron bowl 7x14, that's the DTB model. That trailer weighs 4,995 pounds. And the dump trailer alone puts about 900 pounds of tongue weight on the truck. So even with a little bit of firewood in there, it leveled us out pretty quick. So what I upgraded, a very minor upgrade, is I upgraded the shocks. So I pulled off all the Ford factory shocks, went with the Bilstein 5100s. Those made a big difference in the drive quality of this truck. Handling is much better, and rebound is a whole lot quicker. And then the block kit that I added in the rear is actually the same block that's in all the F250 Tremors. I think 350 as well, but I'm not 100% sure. So from the factory, these F250s get a 2-inch tall lift block. The Tremors have a 3¼ inch lift block. When I measured this out front to rear, I've got about 10¼ inch, and I just did the clearance from the top of the tire to the bottom of the fender here, and I had about 10¼ inch clearance in the front, 12½ in the back. So 2¼ inch difference from front to back. And like I said earlier, I had about 1 inch from the factory when I took delivery of this truck. I added a 1¼ inch lift block. So we went up to 2¼ inches of total height difference, and it looks great. I absolutely think that this truck should come this way from the factory, especially when you get that added height from having the camper and snowplow prep. But for a minimal cost, we got a really nice look to this truck, and going to help out with some of the towing and payload as well. So let me give you a closer look here. All right, let me do a backup here. So hopefully you guys can see that okay. But before, you really couldn't notice any difference in ride height from front to rear. Now it's pretty visible. You can see how much higher that rear is. I think the truck's got a perfect stance to it, and wasn't a whole lot of money to do all this. So the Tremor lift block kit, I got them from CJC Off-Road. I think they were right around $200. But really nice kit. It comes directly from Ford, and it gives you the new U-bolts, which are really long. So I'll probably trim them down. And then here is your 3¼ inch block, pulling out the 2-inch block. So you get the block, you get the U-bolts. So it's a really nice kit, pretty easy to install. And then the Ford factory shocks are nothing to brag about, but try to give you a view of those Bilsteins. Let's go around to the other side. That one's outboard, so you can get a better view of that shock there. Those 5100s are a really nice shock. That's a good upgrade for any truck, in my opinion. They ride really nice. And then I'll throw in some of the stock photos as well. And then up front, I didn't have to do the front shocks. I didn't have to do any of the shocks, really. You know, you're fine doing that rear lift block without having to put a different shock on. But I figured might as well do a nice little suspension upgrade while we're in there. So there it is. I think it looks great. Truck drives better. We added some more functionality with helping out with payload, at least having, you know, not as much negative sag when we're towing, and having some heavy weight in the bed of that truck, which I'm doing quite a bit with the Firewood. And I just love the look of it now. All right, so sorry that took me so long, guys. I did that first video right after I bought the truck, and I realized pretty quick that I wanted to get a little more rear lift in that truck without having to do like a major lift kit. I didn't want to mess with the stock suspension too much. It is a work truck, and I don't want to throw a whole lot of stupid money at it, or unnecessary money at it. So I'm really happy with how that turned out, and for a pretty minimal cost. But it just took me a while to get that done. So I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one as well. I did a nice walk around of that truck, went over the features, the specs, and I did a little detail on that suspension that I was going to put on it as well. So, all right, I have got to get back to Firewood here. So I've got just over a face cord left in the shed here, and that I actually just sold to a business. So I have to get that stuff bundled up, get it ready for delivery, and then that load I just picked up, I need to get that stuff processed. So I'm going to cut the video short today. I appreciate you guys being here. I might throw in a little bit of me kind of moving this Firewood around. I got to get the roadside stand reloaded. That's been selling really quick. So this Firewood business just keeps progressing. keeps getting busier, and I keep trying to find more ways to produce wood faster and find more room here to store it. So this is it's going a lot better than I expected, I'll tell you that much. So I'm gonna get back to work on the firewood. I appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you on the next one.